life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Welcome to Around the Turnbuckle. I'm Big Al. That floating skull to my left, or on your screen, it's my right, is the professor. He is driving home. He will join us visually momentarily, but right now he's audio only. How you doing, Professor?
I'm doing okay, Al. How are you? Sorry about that, guys. I thought I was going to be back by now, but give me a few, and I should be on the laptop for those of you that don't like the floating head. For those of you that would prefer the floating head, enjoy it while you got it.
We got some comments already from our faithful, and we appreciate each and every one of you, by the way. Happy New Year to everybody. As we reflect on a great year of Around the Turnbuckle, we look forward to the new exciting adventures and interviews of a bright new year ahead. That's from your broadcast colleague, David Moderman.
Absolutely couldn't agree more, Dave.
David Hilt is here. Good evening, he says. And Chris Vant, what's up? Let's go. Sounds like he's already pre-gaming for New Year's. But, you know, he's a little too excited about Around the Turnbuckle. But we appreciate the enthusiasm. Guys,
oh yeah.
What a year, Professor. What a year, Professor. And listen, before we start anything, while the professor's driving, I have a few things to say. And number one is, Around the Turnbuckle doesn't happen without the professor. I get a lot of credit for starting the whole thing. I get a lot of credit for being the behind the scenes guy here, blah, 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 whatever, blah, blah, blah.
And you should. You absolutely deserve it.
But the professor, I could not do it without you. I could not do it without you. And I am just as excited for you and proud of you for everything that's happened to you in regards to the business. You and I have said many times on this show that we did not start this podcast to get into the business or to dip our toes into the business locally. But the fact that you've become the voice of SWO and 3WA, I'm just glad to be here with you on this ride, and I'm going to continue to support you and be with you on the ride, whether I'm ring announcing or whether I'm sitting next to you on Carnage. It doesn't matter to me, because I just want you to know that I'm very proud of you, because, and people don't know Professor Keith as long as I have. This guy didn't exist 10 years ago.
Yeah.
This guy has not only broken out of his shell, but he has leaped the fuck out and basically, ripped off his shirt like Superman. Okay. You guys have no clue who this guy was 10 years ago. So, Professor, I'm so proud of you that you've made friends in the business, that you're going to continue to do so because you love it, because the fans have really taken a shine to you as well. And I saw that post where SWO itself gave you some love, you and Dave, because they're the wrestlers and fans alike are both enjoying the commentary on SWO's YouTube channels. And Carnages will continue again in 2024. The professor and I will be back at the Q Mart in January on the fourth Saturday of January. But in the meantime, we'll be back at Seven Valleys. The professor will be calling the action while I'm in the ring announcing. And like I said, man, I'm just so proud of you.
I appreciate that. And I'm proud of you too. I mean, everything you've done, definitely, I gotta say, I couldn't do a lot of this stuff when the opportunities came, if Al wasn't willing to say to people like, we could do that, or, hey, why not give us a try, or, Al's a great spokesman that way. In some ways, it's almost like Al's my unpaid agent in some ways, because it's either like, oh, we could do that if it's a joint opportunity, or like if he gets an opportunity and then he sees where there's an opportunity for me down the line there, he'll be like, oh, Professor could do that. Oh, I think Professor would be interested in doing that. Let me talk to him about it, or you go talk to him about it, or whatever. Like, yeah, I got the I was approached about SWO commentary, but I'm sure, that was also probably Al saying to people here and there, like, hey, if you ever want to try to do that, Professor's pretty good. I could show you a video, or I could show you whatever, I'm sure that wasn't completely just, they looked around and said, oh, well, okay, I guess we could try that guy.
Well, you're humble, and because the truth of the matter is I might have mentioned it as far as a opportunity, but they actually went and they watched episodes of Carnage, and they liked what they heard there, and they're like, wow. So it adds so much more than just videos on YouTube. And listen, no disrespect to the boys, because they put on great matches. You and I both know that, especially at SWO. But with that added element, it's just like a dessert. You make a dessert and you skip one of the ingredients. That added ingredient of commentary to a wrestling show just enhances the fans' experience. It also enhances the wrestlers' experience, and so we're more than happy to be part of that.
Oh my God, yes. I mean, I tell people all the time, and I've told you fans this all the time. Most people's dream, if they ever get a shot in the wrestling business, is I want to get in the ring and I want to wrestle. I had two honest to goodness dreams because I know who I am. I know what I look like. I don't disappoint
Oh, we might have lost him. Yeah, I mean
a
he's going.
manager.
Okay.
And I know I can talk, so I think I would be a good play-by-play announcer.
Yeah.
So that was what I always said about that, and now I've gotten the opportunity to be a play-by-play announcer, and, at the last 3WA show, I kind of got the opportunity to be a little bit of a manager for a couple of minutes there within that story.
Pretty cool moment there. Definitely a cool moment. David Hilt said you should get in the wrestler Sean Phoenix on your show. Sean Phoenix, he would have a great story. He wrestled for SWO a couple times, but he had a ring injury that happened where he was told he would never wrestle again. He lost his hearing in his left ear, and after fighting to get his balance back, he wrestles again. Which that's a great story. That is cool. So yeah, well, thank you, David. We'll definitely look him up. Meantime, in 2023, we had some amazing guests. Absolutely. We had some amazing guests in 2023, and while the professor is arriving at his home so that he can switch from his phone to his laptop, I'm going to mention some honorable mentions who didn't make our top five, and I am basing the top five on not our favorites per se, but the ones that were most popular by the fans. We do this for you, so I took into account all the views on Facebook, on all our channels, the Twitter views and the YouTube channel views, and I added it all together and I created a top five. So if you didn't make the top five, don't be offended. It wasn't because we didn't like it. It was because some were popular than others. But we had some honorable mentions who didn't make the top five, ones that were watched by a lot of people and were enjoyed by a lot of people. And the first one on that list, honorable mention, is Tommy Vex. What can I not say about Tommy Vex? Keith and I have had the privilege of not only calling his matches for 3WA, but Keith has called his matches in SWO. I've had the privilege of ring announcing for him in his matches, some of his matches. And we can't say enough about Tommy. The interview itself, if you want to see it, is on our YouTube channel. On this exact channel you're watching this program. The professor's gone, but he's going to be coming back. And Tommy Vex's interview is, if you go to our YouTube channel, guys, and you click the live tab and you kind of scroll down, you'll come across Tommy Vex. That was actually a really, really great interview. Tommy was very open in that interview, and we both appreciate him for that. Okay, so I think he's back. Let's see if he's back here. Yep, here he is. There he is.
I'm back.
Okay. So what can you say about Tommy Vex, Professor?
Well, the first thing to say about Tommy Vex is the Tommy Vex you see in the ring, that's Tommy Vex. Like, that's who he is.
It's totally him.
Curtain, everything else. I mean, and Tommy is just an authentic sort of guy. He's a fun guy. He is somebody that is so great at what he does. And I hope in 2024 we see more of Tommy. I know
Yeah,
sometimes Tommy has some real life things that go on
right.
that keep him from wrestling as much as he would like to. And hopefully that will get better in 2024.
Chris Vant is here, and he watches each and every one of our shows, and we appreciate you, Chris, for all your comments the entire year. Proud of the professor this year. The point quicker and no longer rants forever. That's a compliment, Keith. I would take
Yeah,
it. Proud,
that's what I
proud of,
thought it was meant as.
proud of both of you guys, and like the wrestler is getting more involved in the conversations. Yes. So that's honorable mention number one. Tommy Vex was a great interview, and like I said, if you guys want to see that interview, go to our YouTube channel that you're watching this on right now, unless you're watching it on Facebook, and click the live tab and scroll down, and you'll find Tommy Vex. It was a really, really good interview. So the professor and I, from time to time, not every single month, but almost every month. I can't claim it's every month, but almost every month, we do a 3WA pre-show on the Saturday that show is happening in Quakertown. And this particular year, Summer Scorcher was watched by a lot of people. There was a lot of interest in that event. There was a lot of interest in a lot of different things. I don't know, but the appetite for wrestling was there, and the professor and I reaped the benefits of that pre-show because it was chaos. If I do recall, I believe current 3WA champion was part of that show.
I
Top
think he
Shelf
may
Tyler
have,
Sims.
I think he may have
Um,
even been filling in for JT
he
Cage
might
on
have
it.
been filling in for our normal host, JT Cage, which we appreciate him, of course. But we also appreciate Tyler Sims for when he fills in for that role. 3WA pre-shows happen on the Saturday at noon, right before every 3WA show. But like I said, not every show. We try to do them. But this past August, we did a pre-show, and it's getting honorably mentioned here because it got a lot of attention. Another honorable mention here is the American Hammer Matt Quay, who has really been doing a number in AXW, in CCW, in Valor, in Seven Mountains. He's making the rounds. He's a
I think he
tremendous
actually got over
athlete.
to, and he got
Oh,
over to Germany, I believe, this year and worked
he
for
did.
WFW over there. Yeah,
he
tremendous
totally
talent.
did. He had some classic matches with Ian Bush this year. He had some classic matches with Andy Header as well. And we met Matt when Matt was a baby in this business 3 years ago. And he was one of our better interviews, a very open, excuse me. I've been sick,
Yeah,
but
I was
but
still a
Amer-
little under the weather.
but the American Hammer was a great interview, and again, check that one out on our YouTube channel. He was an excellent interview as well, so he's being mentioned here. And our last honorable mention, Professor, is something I'm sure that's near and dear to your heart, and it includes the 3WA history of the hardcore featuring JT Cage, Roadblock, and the Wolfman, where we had all three of those gentlemen on at the same time. And they went over the history of the hardcore championship in 3WA. They talked about some of their best moments. They talked about some of their best matches against each other. And it was a great one. It was really a really good one. I've been told by
Really
Cage.
was.
I've been told by Cage himself that he's actually watched that one many times, which we appreciate for that. But yeah, you can speak to that one if you want, Keith.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really special show, and I would love for us to get more of an opportunity to kind of do deep dives like that because I think that's the kind of thing that you can show non-fans to because I think people have a hard time understanding that like this stuff matters. Like, yes, you're not actually winning and losing the championships because someone's telling you you're going to win it or lose it. You're out there working cooperatively, but it means something because it means something to the fans. It means something to the performers. It's achievement. It means something because the guys make it mean something. And it was so great to sit down with those three guys that have been through the wars with each other, have been in this situation, trying to elevate that championship, trying to make it mean something, and getting it to the point where, I mean, we've called 3WA shows where the hardcore title was the main event, and legitimately was the main event because it was the hottest thing
Yep.
going in the promotion at the time. And
Nobody's gonna forget.
there were cards where you could have a heavyweight title match.
Yep.
And the heavyweight title didn't close because it just didn't matter at that particular moment as much as the hardcore title did. And that is a tremendous testament to those gentlemen and what they built.
Nobody is gonna soon forget Wolfman versus JT Cage this year. That match was we're all gonna remember that match.
Still one of my favorites to call. One of my favorite calls ever.
And if you've not heard that or watched that match, I implore you, please go on the particular Carnage where that match takes place. The professor's call on that was spot on. It was amazing. It was very emotional.
Anniversary show.
What was it?
First part of the anniversary show.
First part of the 43rd anniversary show, yes.
Yeah, but if you looked up 3WA 43rd anniversary, I'm sure it would pop right up.
Have any of the interviewed wrestlers this year made any jumps that we know of to higher wrestling tiers or titles?
Matt Quay, I know, is the AXW champion right now. He has been just the franchise player for that promotion.
Yeah. Bright future. I mean, the guy is going to be signed somewhere. I just have that feeling.
I've told Matt Quay this. I feel like his connection to the audience, if he can translate that, and the fact that he's going and he's working in different places, the fact that he's gone overseas, he has a Magnum TA, John Cena, like that white meat baby face connection with the audience.
Yep.
That is so hard because, especially in this day and age, a white meat baby face, most people will go, that guy's bullshit.
Right.
Or I don't like that guy because he seems too clean cut or whatever. But Matt Quay is genuinely that guy and has figured out how to get that across to the audience. So the audience gets behind it and the audience isn't like, goof, I want the harder edge guy. Like, he's managed to sell what John Cena used to be able to sell to the kids, but it was harder to sell to the adults because the adults were still like, I'd rather watch a Steve Austin and Stone Cold, or I'd rather watch The Rock. But I see Matt Quay at his shows, he's getting the kids, but he's also getting the parents too. He's getting the fathers as well as the sons on his side.
All right, so those are our honorable mentions. Chris, that's a great question because we love, nothing thrills us more when we see somebody that we've interviewed show up on TV. You might know Malik Blade from NXT. We had him 3 years ago before he got signed by WWE. Chico Adams has been on our show too, and Chico Adams has made a lot of appearances on Monday Night Raw. Bro Keller. Bro Keller has been on Monday Night Raw. He actually had a match on Monday Night Raw. So these guys are doing what they got to do to try to pay their dues and try to get in any way they possibly can. And if it becomes...
Urban Legend was on both SmackDown and AEW Dark.
Absolutely. So, nothing thrills us more when we see somebody that we've interviewed pop up on TV somewhere. That's great stuff. So let's get to the top 5, Professor. So we're going to go from 5 to number 1, and in case you're wondering, well, why are they in such a order? I explained that earlier. It is the most viewed. You take the Facebook, the Twitter, the YouTube, you add them all up, I get a number, and these are the top 5 most watched episodes of 2023 of Around the Turnbuckle with number 5. And by the way,
we're hiding behind the numbers. Totally.
And by the way, I have individually spoken to each one of these 5 people today, invited them on here also if they had time. All of them didn't really have the time to do it, but at the same time, we're also very thankful and grateful for everybody who watched their particular episode. One guy in particular was even more amazed and shocked because, we interview a ton of wrestlers, Professor, but it's rare that we interview a referee. And when we do, and he makes the top 5 of 2023. Kudos to referee Mike Rodriguez. That's awesome. That he had so much support and so much people watching his interview live. So kudos to you, Mike. Professor, what can you say about referee Mike?
I mean, Mike's again one of those guys that it's a passionate fan who made the transition. And I know Mike's had a tough year. I'm friends with Mike on Facebook and everything. I read his posts all the time and chime in where necessary and all that stuff. And I know Mike's been struggling this year. I know he's been struggling professionally. I know he's been struggling personally, and sometimes trying to take time away from the professional to deal with the personal. So I'm so glad that Mike's on this list, because I think Mike's one of those guys that needs to know, because sometimes he does know how much he's valued and how much he's valued and how much people care about him and care about what he does.
Yep. Yeah, and he's very good at it. He's better at it than he would let you believe. But he is. Well, we've seen lots of referees. You've called lots of matches with many different referees. We give praise to most of them. There have been some that are new, that are learning. Mike is very professional in that ring. He controls the environment. He controls the match. He controls the wrestlers. He keeps law and order. He does all the things that many of his mentors, such as Zach Carlucci, do. And Mike, I implore you to just keep doing what you're doing. I know that wrestling and actually being a wrestler is in the cards for you. And by all means, if that happens, go for it. But at the same time, to stay in this business, you are a really good referee. And a lot of people watched your episode of Around the Turnbuckle. We want to thank you for coming on and telling your story, because we don't hear a lot of referee stories, and they're a huge part of each and every wrestling show.
Yeah, I always say you probably won't notice a good referee, but oh boy, are you going to notice a bad referee.
I'm not naming any names.
You leave him alone. You leave him alone. I tell you it every month. You leave him alone. He's trying.
Number 4 on the list is the one and the only, the Wolfman. Wolfman had been on our show before a couple of years ago, so this was a return of sorts. I think I actually titled the episode Wolfman Returns, kind of like a Batman reference right there. Batman Returns, the Wolfman Returns. But he always loves talking to us, and the first time we interviewed him, we didn't barely even scratch the surface of his career, because we could talk to him all night long. Keith and I call his show every Wednesday on Inside the Squared Circle, and I implore you to check that out. Just look up Wolfman Baker on Facebook, and you could watch his show live, and you can chime in with your comments and call in. Please call in, because I'd rather listen to fans call in or wrestlers call in to the Wolfman show than hear me and the professor talk, because we could do that all night.
And especially now, too, when he runs a video, he's running the videos with me talking on commentary. So I always look at it as like, Jesus, do people don't want that much professor. And that's why when I call in, too, I try to find that hook that will get Wolf engaged, so Wolf will tell stories. Because, my God, the stories that man has, he's been a wrestler.
Yeah.
He's been a promoter. He does ring rentals. He has been in just about every major facet of this business for 40 years.
And he's getting ready to retire.
He's getting ready to retire from in the ring. It certainly hasn't escaped my mind that it's going to be in the SWO, which means I'm going to wind up calling his last match, which is a tremendous honor.
Yep.
And I'm going to try really, really hard not to get emotional and be professional on that one. And I don't know that I can, because Wolf is one of those people that, I talk about the people that have really done something for me and helped get me in this business and be anything in this business. And the Wolfman is one of the number one people that has done that, and is still somebody that I can go to for advice, that I can go to if I'm having a problem or I'm thinking about something, and I know he will always tell me the honest truth, and he will always tell me when it's good, when it's bad, what I can do better, what's working, and it's tremendous. I can't thank him enough for that. And I got him a Christmas present, and he loved his Christmas present. He told me that
Absolutely.
Wednesday. So that was great too.
David, I want to get this comment up from David Hill. He said that I think when you had Trent Farrell, that should be in the top 5. Yes. Again, we're ranking these by the most. We were ranking these by the most watched, most viewed. So
yeah, this isn't our personal favorite.
This isn't our personal favorite. So yeah, if it were our personal favorites,
and we are hiding behind the numbers.
Trent Farrell was a great interview. Absolutely a great interview. And as for Ace Dallas,
we just pointed at him and said, question 1, how did you get started? And I think
and he talked for a half hour.
Question again.
You're right. How did you get started? And he told his story for a half hour. And we love interviews like that. It's very easy. Trent was great, and he's welcome back anytime. As for Ace Dallas, the second part of your statement there, that Ace Dallas should be number 1. Actually, this is the top 5 of 2023, and Ace Dallas was technically in 2022. He was in December of 2022. So he was, and I don't know if he was, but I'm pretty sure he was in the top 5 last year.
I think he was, yeah. And if
not,
you're right, you should have been, because, you know, there's Ace on camera, and then there's Ace off camera, and Ace off camera is a completely different person. And
totally.
Another one of my favorite people in the business. And, you know, love to grab a drink with him when we're down in Seven Valleys, and got to do that for an extended period this last show. And boy, that was educational too. That was really educational, hanging out with those guys. And that crew knows who they are, and was a good night.
So number 3 is Prince Shango, who is you can see Prince Shango on Home Team Sports on Thursdays at 7 with me and the boys talking sports. But Prince Shango and Keith and I had this idea that since he earlier this year has been medically forced to retire from in-ring competition, we thought that it would be a good idea to talk about his whole career. This was the 3rd or 4th time he's been on Around the Turnbuckle, but I talked to him earlier today as well, and he is more than humble. He was shocked that he was in the top 5, but a lot of people showed him love on that episode.
Yeah, Adrian is one of those people that is just one of my favorite people anywhere at this point in the game. When we first started out, he was one of those, you know, early adopters that took the chance on us to come on, and as we kind of figured this stuff out. And the first time we went to the Legends of Hamburg convention, we hung out with him. We hung out with him. We were doing a table that year, trying to be. Will you stop, Anthony? Come on now.
He's very questionable, highly controversial, Anthony.
Yeah, and we hung out with him, and we got to meet a bunch of stars.
It was great, right? I mean, was that a moment? I mean, he's sitting there, we're at the table, and he's calling people over, and you got to meet Rhino. I know you have a thing, you have a fandom for Rhino. Heath Slater came over, Maven came over. It was pretty cool to have those guys kind of be waved in, and Adrian's just waving them in.
Like he's known them forever.
Yeah, you know, they're all drinking pals, whatever. But Prince Shango, if you guys have not seen that episode, it was only a few short weeks ago. Check out Prince Shango, A Career. We talked about his entire career and why he was forced to retire from in-ring competition at such a young age. He's still only in his 30s. So Prince Shango, we love you, man. Happy New Year to you. Yep. And I'll see you on Thursday. So number 2 was the one and the only Mary Elizabeth, and we honorably mentioned her counterpart, Tommy Vex. Mary Elizabeth. What can you not say about Mary Elizabeth? Very beautiful young lady. Tommy Vex and her are pretty much inseparable. She does also get booked in other places that Tommy doesn't. I do know that she wrestles a lot down in Maryland, not wrestles, but rather appears a lot down in Maryland.
Mm-hmm. She's pretty much.
She's very deep in the what they call it, Maryland Championship Wrestling, MCW down there. And it's quite obvious why she lives down in that area. Tommy is from Pennsylvania, so they kind of, travel around together whenever they can. Great interview. She was very open about her health. She was very open about why she doesn't actually wrestle. She does on occasion wrestle, but I mean, you got to check out that interview and learn about Mary Elizabeth, the person behind the curtain, because she is an amazing person, amazing young lady. She can do anything she wants in this business or in any other business. She has aspirations of being an actress, Keith, and we wish her nothing but the best, whether she continues to do wrestling or whether she doesn't continue to do wrestling. She thanked us for the opportunity earlier today. Like I said, I reached out to the top 5 and told us Happy New Year. So your thoughts on Mary?
Oh, Mary is just the sweetest person. Every time I see Mary at a show now, I get a hug and how are you? And, we talk a little bit and joke around with Tommy there and whatnot, because Mary and Tommy are very similar in terms of humor and everything to me. Very dry, very goofy at times. That's right, folks. I can be goofy. I can do it. And really just, like I say, just two great people in this business. And I'm so thankful to be able to see them, to work with them, and to be able to be friends with them and have a laugh with them when I can.
Absolutely, Mary. And Mary and Tommy, Happy New Year to both of you. And thank you very much for both your interviews. And both those interviews can be found on our YouTube channel. Reached out to the top 5 and Prince Shango didn't show up. No, I did talk to him. He means he didn't show up live. Yeah. That's a question that he has to answer. I can't answer that question.
I mean, he's a truck driver, it's a shoot job. He's a busy man.
It's it's the day before New Year's Eve, so yeah. I mean, he's probably trying to get it all in before. You don't want to be out on the road on New Year's Eve. It's the worst night of the year.
Yeah.
Okay, Keith. So before we talk about, told you questionable. Yes, yeah, he's proven his point. All right. So before we reveal our number 1, we want to thank everybody that we've mentioned so far. The honorable mentions. We want to thank everybody that's ever commented on our show. We've been doing this now for 3.5 years. Since May of 2020 was our first episode. So in May, we'll be celebrating our 4th anniversary, Professor. Around the Turnbuckle Live returns next Sunday, not tomorrow.
Yeah.
Next Sunday, the 7th of January, where our guest is promoter of 1CW, Stevie Ray Styles. We can't wait to talk to him, shop from a promoter's perspective, although he's had a long career in independent wrestling as well. So we can talk about all his highlights about that and what's coming up for 1CW. They got a show, I believe, coming up either this weekend or next, one or the other. But 1CW does put on a show once a month, and kudos to Stevie Ray Styles and keeping it going, keeping the art form alive. We can't wait to talk to him. That's next Sunday, not tomorrow. Next Sunday, the 7th, we're live with Around the Turnbuckle comes back. Andy, thank you for popping in, man. Happy New Year to you, buddy. Always good to see Andy. Thank you for popping in and saying Happy New Year to us. And number 1, the number 1 most watched episode of Around the Turnbuckle in 2023 is the Cotton Candy Princess, Tiffany Avatar, former 3WA heavy women's champion. She also had a stellar 2023. She captured belts in 3 separate promotions, to my knowledge. One up in Albany, one in New Jersey, and one in the 3WA in Quakertown. Also, she was voted Titan Championship Wrestling Professor Goddess of the Year.
Did see that. Yes. Very congratulations to her. Tiffany is another one that has such a great attitude, and it's so nice to have her here locally. She's still green. She'll admit that she's still learning, but I mean, the fundamentals are there, the skills are there. If
The
she
character
sticks,
is definitely there.
oh
She's
yeah,
got characters by the boatload.
yep. If she sticks with it, if she continues to develop, I think Tiffany Avatar can become a star, and I think Tiffany Avatar is going to be somebody with a good career.
Is Keith getting put through a table anytime soon?
I hope not.
I mean, he was choked out by Wyndham James Winthorpe III. I don't think I can take him going through a table.
Yeah, I don't think I would like to deal with that, and hopefully next year I'll have way less problems with some of the malefactors in 3WA.
You hear that, Cage?
Yeah, because I mean, let's face it, this hasn't been a great year for the professor, and dealing with
physically speaking,
some of the more controversial figures within the 3WA. I've had my problems with JT Cage this year. I've had my problems with Wyndham James Winthorpe III this year. So 2023, hopefully let's hope everybody keeps their hands to themselves.
So I talked to Tiffany earlier today, and she is very humble that she was number one. She thought it was awesome. Great news. She wants to thank you and I for having her, and she had a blast while she was on here. She's just going to continue to learn and continue to get better. And we wish you nothing but the best. Like I said, amazing 2023, and I'm glad that we had her on this, basically her launching pad this past year, 2023. So that's it, Professor. That is our top 5 episodes of Around the Turnbuckle in 2023. We kind of just threw this together last minute, but again, I want to reiterate what I said to you earlier. I can't do this without you, bud. And I'm so proud of everything that you've accomplished in both SWO and 3WA. And I want to continue to have Around the Turnbuckle a place for people to come who are trying to get into this business and trying to get their name out there, a place for them to come on and tell their stories as we continue to have more and more great interviews in 2024.
Absolutely. I mean, what a crazy ride it's been so far. And I mean, you think about 2023, what a game-changing year 2023 has been, right? WWE sold to Endeavor.
Yes.
Vince McMahon is gone. Triple H is in complete control of everything.
Absolutely.
We've lost some folks this year. We lost Harry Funk this year, of course.
We did.
I just read today we've lost Killer Khan. Killer Khan
Killer
is
Khan.
So, you know, it's really quite humbling to be getting into the business at the time we're getting into the business, and we stand on the shoulders of giants. Absolutely. Yep. And it's always sad to see some of these giants pass away. It's interesting to see the
New Jack passed. New Jack passed.
Absolutely, New Jack did pass this year. He did.
Yep.
And you know, change is constant in life. Nothing ever stays the same, and I'm really interested to see what 2024 looks like for all of us.
Yep.
I hope it's a great year. I hope if you had a great 2023, you have an even better 2024.
WrestleMania is in Philadelphia, man.
Yeah, and you know what? It's gonna be the first WrestleMania ever without input from Vince McMahon, because from everything I've heard and certainly from what I can see on the shows, he's not there.
The best in the world is back in WWE.
Are not on it. Yeah, I mean, CM Punk's back. Hell froze over. CM Punk is back in WWE.
In WWE, crazy talk. Crazy.
Who would have predicted that?
Hey, do you so this is a question from Anthony. What is your guys' take on Dark Side? Do you dislike or like this Dark Side of the Ring?
I mostly like Dark Side of the Ring. I think there are times where it tells some very necessary stories. I like the history of the business. I thought the Adrian Adonis episode is probably one of the best advertisements for having this show, because there was nothing salacious on it. There was no attempt at gotcha. There was no attempt at trying to make him or anyone else around him look bad. They just wanted to tell the story of Adrian Adonis, warts and all. And how many people really talk about Adrian Adonis in this day and age? And I think we need that. I think we need a place where we are talking about people like that. And I think overall, it's a good show. They do a very good job of handling controversial topics in a very mature and informative way, and really tend to keep the tabloid elements out of it.
First WrestleMania in Pennsylvania. Wish they would do a WrestleMania at Hershey. That's not true, actually. Pennsylvania has hosted WrestleMania. At WrestleMania 15, I was there. That was Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock was the main event.
Yeah, but in the modern age now, with WrestleMania being stadiums, unless you build a stadium, you're not going to have a shot at it. And
Plane Ride from Hell was a good one. Yeah,
it was. And again, I think that was another.
He was there. He was. Anthony was there with me.
Yeah, and I think that was another good example of trying to keep what could have been a very easy tabloid story and telling it in such a way that you kept the tabloid element away from it as much as you could.
And if you hate Punk, Anthony, that's your prerogative. You don't have to like Punk.
Yeah, I'm a big CM Punk fan. I always have been. I certainly sympathize with some of the stuff some of the stuff that I hear about Punk, because I think personality-wise, at least in a workplace setting, he and I are probably very similar. And I also think that a lot of what's been reported about Punk when it comes to AEW is probably also not taking into account what Punk's complete role was in AEW, because while I've never heard it officially, just based on the stuff he said and on things I've heard from the different incidents that he's been involved with, I think CM Punk had a management role there. I think it wasn't publicized. I don't know how formal it was, but I think that, yeah.
All right, we're going to get out of here, Professor. We want to wish everybody a happy new year. We hope you enjoyed our special end of the year countdown. And we want to invite anybody who's never been a guest on here to please get in contact with us to be a guest in 2024. We do have some guests lined up already in January, including on January 7th. We got Stevie Ray Styles from 1CW. Can't wait to talk to him. JCM is the week after that, Professor. So we get to talk to him as well. And, we encourage everybody who checks us out here to get in contact with us. And if you want to be on guest on Around the Turnbuckle, please. They book up fast. We usually book like 4, 5, 6 weeks in advance, which is phenomenal. Happy New Year to you as well, Anthony.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank everybody for chiming in. Professor, you got any parting gifts?
Just again, what I said, it's been a great year. It's been a crazy year, and I hope everyone has a happy new year. I hope you enjoy tomorrow, whatever you're doing. Be responsible, be safe out there. And I'm looking forward to 2024. I can't wait to see what the business brings.
Let's do it, Professor. We got New Heights on January 16th in Seven Valleys. We got the following week on January 23rd. We are back in the Q-Mart for Revolution Rumble for the vacant 3WA Extreme Championship. That's going to be cool. I believe that's only the second annual Revolutionary Rumble, so it's the first time that they've ever had one for a championship. Yes, David, first WrestleMania without Vince. I believe WrestleMania 15 was there. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's WWF, not WWE. They changed the name in 2002.
Correct. All right. For the Professor and for all our guests, big shout out to the Wolfman. I know he was trying to join us tonight and he was having technical difficulties behind the scenes. So I'm going to call him as soon as we get out of here. But in the meantime, Happy New Year to each and every one of you. We'll see you in 2024, and we'll see you back on Around the Turnbuckle on January 7th.
You think you know me?
Oh, yeah! If you smile!
calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some